While the finals has been some of the most fun I've had all year, there's been a handful of issues that have plagued the game from season to season. Like any live service or multiplayer PvP game, the finals is ever changing and the devs won't always make the best decisions. Even when they do, I never expect this or any other game to be perfect. There will always be something that feels a little off in any game. It's up to you to decide what you can tolerate and what you enjoy. So long as the game is more fun than agonizing for you, that's really all that matters. It's also worth mentioning that players at different skill levels will be more or less likely to run into the same problems. And well, with the finals, it's getting to that point where I'm not having as much fun or tolerating the current meta the game has. The big reason for this is because the finals is built with the intention of a mid to long time to kill, with the light class having 150 health, medium with 250, and heavy with 350. At the same time, the game offers a few hard-hitting weapons that kinda makes having all this health meaningless. Now, I'm not against heavy-hitting weapons, more so for the sluggish heavy class that can't really run away from a fight. With the light class, however, it's gotten out of hand, and this is from someone who plays only medium and light class. The only time I'll ever use the heavy class is to complete a mission. Let's go down the list of troublesome weapons that have defined the current meta in the matches I've ended up in for Season 4. I also want to mention that these damage numbers may not be entirely accurate, as the sources I'm using have slightly different numbers. However, these numbers are so close, it still doesn't change the end result. Feel free to check out the sources for yourself and follow along in the description below. I'll also put as many numbers as I can on screen to help show what's going on. The SH-1900 shotgun for the light class, for instance, deals 115 damage to the body and headshot damage is 230. This means the weapon has the potential to two-shot a heavy class character, which in my opinion should never be a possibility, even with 2 straight headshots point blank. And of course, it doesn't end there. The throwing knives in the game are also a little bit too strong, with one throwing knife dealing 60 damage to the body and 90 to the head, up to the charge shot throwing knives which deals 135 damage and a possible crit damage of 210. Once again, another option for medium class players to get to the 3-hit deaths. Moving on, the sword the light class has deals 74 damage to the body, with a charge shot that deals 140 damage. Yet another close range 2-hit kill weapon against the medium class. Next up, the dagger, which granted requires more skill, deals 320 damage with a backstab. Not a headshot, a backstab. It's more gimmicky and less likely to happen, but it is still possible to delete medium class players with one hit. Not only are these weapons a problem just due to their crit damage and the capability to remove over 250 health points in 2 hits, but also just how reliable they are to do just that and at close range. Most of the combat in the finals, more so in their primary cash-out game modes, tends to happen within 10 to 15 meters. Closing that gap with a shotgun or a lunge with a melee weapon is very easy to pull off, and it's something that really decides what weapons are even worth using across all classes. The solution may not necessarily mean to nerf all of these weapons, but I do think having so many options that 2 or 3 shot mediums and sometimes heavy class players at close range is not good for the game overall. While the light class is the biggest issue in the game right now, that's not to say there aren't any cheesy weapons in the medium class. And before we go into what those are, if you're enjoying this video so far, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more gaming discussions. Primarily, the big issue is with the CL40 grenade launcher. The devs have mentioned in their patch notes that they will rework the grenade launcher sometime soon, but right now it's everywhere and very annoying to deal with. It's been a big problem in the Power Shift game mode, and when you mix it with light class players who rush down everyone, there's not a lot that can be done at times. While I'm also a fan of being a Junkrat and lobbing 3s all day long, I don't think a primary weapon grenade launcher has any place in the finals. I do think there is a place for grenade launchers in the game, so let's talk about a hypothetical rework. If I could make a change to it, I would place the CL40 as a gadget, lower the damage output, give it 2 or 3 shots at a time, and have it go on cooldown. There is no regenerating ammo, you have to use all of the ammo and have it go on cooldown before you get any of it back. I've been saying this since the betas, I would absolutely give up a gadget slot for some type of secondary that deals damage. Although the medium class is a bit speedy, they do have an ability for a turret, and they do have access to a bounce pad, they're less likely to evade a fight. As it is right now, medium class players are better off fighting from a distance to get that head start in case a light class or any other player decides to rush them down. With little to no other way to evade gunfights, having a pocket grenade launcher could be just enough to keep medium class players in the fight for just a little longer, and it doubles as a gadget that can blow open a wall or floor if necessary. Now I don't know if this will work or how well it would work, The heavy class, though, has access to an RPG as a gadget, and while I do see an RPG being used every so often, it's not in every lobby, and I'm also not seeing game-breaking levels of destruction. This has also helped out with the RPG going on cooldown after every use. This leads me to believe the same thing can happen with the CL40 if it's balanced right. It will destroy walls and objects, but it might take an extra hit. And it also won't be as reliable to get kills with. It would fit more of a gadget role than a delete button that it currently is. Moving forward, the medium class also has a shotgun, the model 1887, that has the capability of dealing 128 damage if all the pellets hit the target. Keeping in mind that most gunfights are happening within 15 meters, the shotgun can end up being a little too reliable at times. One thing to note is most of these 2 to 3 hit weapons are not automatic. There does take some amount of skill and accuracy to get the most out of them. With the 1887, I've run across players who can't quite land the second shot for a kill, and I've run across players who seem like they can't miss with it. This may not be the most broken shotgun or weapon in the game, but it's teetering a little closer to broken than I like. As for everything else the medium class has, they require more effort to be effective. The 357 revolver, while it can 2-shot light and medium class players with 1 headshot mixed in, it's semi-auto and can only carry 6 rounds at a time. I'm also not against giving it a slight nerf if necessary. The right shield and baton combo deals 90 damage per swing, there is no charge shot, and the medium class has no ability to launch. While it is still annoying to deal with, they're nowhere near as effective as a light class melee build. The same thing applies for the dual blades. Again, I'm fine with seeing any or all of these weapons be nerfed to some extent, but the only 2 troublemakers here for the medium class are the CL40 and debatably the model 1887 shotgun. There are some things that we can argue about for the heavy class as well, but I'm going to leave it here. If anything, we need more reason to play the heavy class, not straight up buffs or nerfs to any weapons or gadget the class already has access to. And I'm sure some high-ranked players may disagree with me on that. Feel free to let me know what I'm missing and what you would want to see change for the heavy class. There isn't a perfect science to balancing a game, but I do feel the mentality the devs have here may cause more harm than good. From the outside looking in, it appears that the devs want every weapon to be viable and worth using at any skill level. While I do agree with that sentiment, I also feel it should not be law. Shotguns are the hardest weapons to balance in any game, as they are either too reliable or too difficult to use. And from my own experience playing a lot of online FPS games, I would much rather see shotguns be harder to use than be a delete button in PvP games. The mentality I would like to see from the devs is this: all weapons are usable and have value, but some are purely for the gimmick. This would include weapons like the bow and arrow, throwing knives, the dagger, the light class sword, and more. These type of weapons that can be effective, but require a very specific playstyle that isn't the easiest thing to pull off. These weapons should be challenging to use, and you should feel less effective using them. However, it would feel far more rewarding to pull off a kill or clutch and win because of that challenge and learning to be efficient with it. It's fine for a shotgun to not be an insta-kill and require a 3rd shot against medium class players. It's fine for a melee weapon to require 3 or 4 hits against the medium class, even with crits. I do want to see these weapons be an option. I just don't want to see them be the only option and outclass everything else in the game. Not in a game where we have a ton of health but are still being deleted near instantly. I also didn't mention the sniper rifle the light class has, and that's primarily because it's not an issue at this time. A lot of light class players prefer to play up close than to try and land shots at range. Even so, the sniper rifle still requires 2 hits to get a kill. None of these weapons have to disappear or be useless, they just have to be less reliable, and not all of them should have a 2-hit kill potential. There should always be a revolving door balance changes, if at the very least to freshen up the gameplay and get players to use a different weapon. More importantly, it's to make sure that the game isn't one note and can be won by simply playing the game one way. I know the devs tend to take their time before making drastic changes, and that kind of slows down the momentum they have with the release of each season. By no means do I expect them to instantly turn the meta around, but I would like to see them take some steps throughout a season to make some of the more toxic metas less reliable. We did see them nerf the Pike 556 DMR multiple times this season, but none of the other weapons that I've mentioned. If we're going to have 150 to 350 health, let's have the weapon balance reflect that. While there may be a few very skillful weapons like the SR-84 Sniper or the 357 Revolver that have 2-shot potential, we should make sure they stay in check and not have any other easier to use weapons that can do the same thing more reliably. As I've originally titled this video, the finals has a TTK problem, not a weapon balancing problem. With a mixed HP pool that this game has, it does make balancing tricky. If weapons are too weak, no one can kill heavy class players. But if they're too strong like they are now, no one can really have fun or use other more regular weapons like the M11 or the AKM without being at a clear disadvantage. They don't want certain weapons to be too powerful, but apparently are fine with 2-hit kill melees and shotguns. And keep in mind, all of these examples are best case scenario where everyone has full health. Having the smallest bit of damage taken means some of these weapons will 1-hit kill from time to time. Even though shotguns and melees are the biggest issue now, there will always be another weapon or metas that the community will put together that can mimic a 2 or 3-hit kill meta. I really don't want to see that happen, and I hope the devs stay on top of this. While I don't want to see the weapons be as weak as they are in a game like Apex Legends, I'd much rather see longer gunfights and less insta-kill options in the finals. And it's time the devs decide which side they want to lean towards. Let me know what you think about all this and what you want to see changed in the finals. And feel free to share this video around if you found it to be helpful. Thank you for getting this far in the video. Don't forget to drop a like and consider subscribing for gaming news, discussions, highlights, and more. Until then, I'm Mr. Rain, and I'll see you next time.